Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the next episode of Throwing Stones, the Glass House Presents. I am your co-host, that Wascally Wabbit, and our host is David Campiti.
Yeah, there I am over here. Today I have a real treat for you. We've had some great big guns guests on here, Mike Diodato, Will Conrad, and some others. But we have some superbly talented people that are making waves in animation and other things that a lot of times comic people just don't know about or just kind of overlook. And one of those is a fellow that I think is absolutely amazing, Dave Alvarez. And I've asked him to join us today. We finally met in person at a MegaCon here a few years ago. This is Dave and me and some frog here that wasn't in my throat at the time, but was a talent all of his own here. Dave does some wonderful puppeteering, and I've seen him do some videos with Kermit that I've liked a lot. But I wanted to share right off. This is the kind of work that Dave does. He can bring amazing life to just about any character. So as you can see, he can do a really masterful Bugs Bunny, both on model and not. And sometimes his not on models are even more amazing because the elasticity of his characters. I first started working with Dave when a client wanted us to redesign Mr. Bean. And this is what Dave came up with. And I thought it was absolutely wonderful. And then for whatever reason, at the last minute, nothing happened with the project. And I was so sad about that. But I'm very happy to have Dave on here today. So let's bring him in and let's start chatting.
All right.
Here we are.
Hello, Dave. Thank you for joining us. Greatly appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy schedule to come chat with us today.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for inviting me, and let's chat. Let's talk.
Okay, first, right off, you have a thing called Looney Tune 2025 starting June 1st. Tell us about that.
Well, I kind of wanted to go back to my roots. My professional career started with the Looney Tunes. So eventually, it's something that was always in the back seat. And I felt like I have been seeing all these challenges online. They have Disney challenges. They have, areas Mermaid by the Bancroft Brothers. And I said, no, Looney Tunes have never got this kind of love. So I came up with Looney Tune. So we could dedicate a whole month for fan art and stuff of the Looney Tunes, and people has been responding well. So that's very good. So we are on for a very interesting month.
I look forward to seeing what happens there.
Yeah.
So let's get into a little bit about your background, since so few comics fans know who you are, despite how great you are. Let's fill them in a little bit.
Well, I don't know where to start. I suck talking about me, so I don't know. I've been there, everywhere at the same time.
Well, let's break into that a little bit. I came across your work online and thought it was so splendid that I just had to work with you, and so brought you in to do a couple of design things for people, but we also have you on board so that if anybody wants any great designs or storyboards or whatever for animation, you're there. And it makes sense to offer them the best guy. So
I hope so.
Very happy that you are part of that. But how did you get started? Was there what interested you as a kid? What got you into the art field to start with, and how did you get into comics? How did you get into animation? Let's do it that way.
Well, I started being inspired by comic strips. Seeing them in newspaper, and that kind of started off things. Seeing all those. My favorite comic strips were Garfield and the Beetle Bailey and the Peanuts, and all those kind of comic strip newspaper. Especially when I saw the Muppets going to comic strip by the amazing guy Gilchrist, I was like, man, I have to do this. So I started, making my own comic strips, and I came up with a little comic strip called Sachi and Angeline, and I managed to publish in a local newspaper, which eventually, grew up and became The Annie, which was another comic strip that I started to publish online, and it was the first comic strip that I got syndicated online by GoComics.com, which is Universal Press. So that's where I started, and then eventually started moving to do other things like regular comics. I saw this comic of the Looney Tunes on a local Walgreens, and I said, "Hey, they're making Looney Tunes comics." By that time, the Space Jam was everywhere, and the Looney Tunes were a big thing. And there was this little thing on reading on the first page. It said, if you want to send your submission, here's do it to this address. So I got my portfolio ready. My portfolio was like this thick. I sent them in a box, and I sent it over there. I think it was like a year later, something like that. They replied to me, and they called home, and I thought it was they were bluffing. My father, who doesn't know English, he just picked up the phone. He was I think this is your uncle playing a prank. Here. And I took it, and this is Peter Tuminola from Warner Brothers. And I was, okay, okay. So they start me off with an Animaniacs story, and and they like it. And I remember the saying, "Do you have a fax machine?" I said, "No." I said, "Oh, we need a fax machine for you to work on." I put the phone here. Dad, do you have a fax machine at work? And he said, "Yeah, why?" "I'll explain you later." "Yes, I do." So they faxed me the first story, and I started working on it, and then I made Animaniacs. That was my first comic. They like it very much. They reached out back to me and said, "Hey, we want you as a regular artist, and we have all these titles. We have Looney Tunes, we have Scooby Doo, the Flintstones, Pinky and the Brain, and Animaniacs. Which one would you like?" So I started, checking boxes. The Flintstones are Hanna Barbera, and if they, if by any other reason they split again, I'm without a job, so I'm not gonna take the Flintstones. Pinky and the Brain is Steven Spielberg's property, and if by any chance they fight, I'm gonna I'm gonna be without a job. So I said, "Give me the Looney Tunes because that's yours." So I started working on the Looney Tunes, and 200 issues later, 240 issues later, I'm here. So that's how it started.
Oh, that is phenomenal.
It is.
Now I recall that you did work for the Looney Tunes revival on HBO Max.
Mhm.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, one thing led to another, and one day, while I was working in one of the Looney Tunes comics, the editor says, "Hey, someone from Warner Brothers Animation wants to talk with you." I said, "Really?" Okay, so he reached out to me and said, "Do you do storyboards?" In this field, I have learned not to say no. I said, "Do you do storyboards?" I said, "Yes."
Of course.
Of course, yeah, that's my thing. So, okay, and I said, it's not that complicated. I need you to do some storyboards for Crypto the Super Dog. So I said, okay. I made my first storyboards, and they like it somehow. And eventually, I got called to work on other projects, like the Looney Tunes, for example. So I started working on the Looney Tunes show, and then Wabbit, and then I moved along with the movies or whatever thing, and the revival of the Looney Tunes cartoons as well. So I kind of been there on every Looney Tunes representation ever since.
I like that a lot. Anything uh, with with Disney on any of their characters?
Yeah, no, Disney. I've been with them for I think for a couple of years. I started working on Disney animation on the Proud Family as a storyboard artist, and they also called me to work on the marketing department, so I could handle uh, the classic Disney characters, Mickey, Donald, Goofy, just to keep them a model, but at the same time try to give them an updated feeling for merchandise and stuff. I recently did some stuff for the Goofy movie 30th anniversary, which has been like everywhere. But I made all the illustrations and all the and everything that has to do with that marketing part. So yeah, I do stuff for Disney from time to time.
Gosh, I love Goofy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So anyway, I I met Mark Farmer once at a convention.
oh Bill Farmer, yeah.
Came up to him uh, Garsh, pleased to meet you. And, and he's backing me. Garsh, you sound kind of familiar to me. So that was a nice little bit.
That's cool.
But yeah, so let's share your Wascally Wabbits and some of your other things with some of the folks following here in case they're unfamiliar with your work.
Hmm.
Chris, you want to run this or?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there we go.
That's
All right, so starting with the Muppet Show, the animated Muppet Show.
Yeah, that's from the Muppet 70 celebration. They every week they feature a different Muppet. So I've been adding a Muppet each week to this huge wallpaper thing. So as a matter of fact, I have to put one today. But yeah, that's kind of how has that been happening. So we're halfway over there. So let's see.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, we got Ghostbusters.
The real Ghostbusters. I heard that there's an animated series going on, and they're looking for artists and stuff like that. I think I filled out like 4 or 5 times their online job request just to see if they notice. And I've been doing all this little artwork here and there. So let's hope they recall me. Let's see.
So this is for a submission to work on Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
That's well, it's kind of fun work. I put it online, but at the same time, it's like, hey guys, I'm here. You know, we're looking for artists because they were very specific. They were looking for 2D artists that could, be able to handle the Ghostbusters in a new way. So I was like, hey, I'm a Ghostbusters fan for all my life. I know how to do this, so I started doing this. I don't know if they ever call me, but I tried.
Well, that's a spectacular version of I believe was that Stan?
No, it's Peter Venkman.
Peter Venkman, sorry.
Yeah.
Peter Venkman, yeah. Yes.
Peter Venkman and Slimer. Oh, that's from the Goofy movie 30th anniversary. That was very challenging because that was the VHS cover, the classic VHS cover of the Goofy movie, but they wanted to make like an updated version of it. And all the characters, for some reason, because the format is like this, all the characters were like this. They were slapping hands like this and all. And I asked, do we have to do that because there's no breathing space there? And they said, no, go ahead, try to make it more lively. So that's what came out of it. And I've been around their own posters and stuff. So
Well, this is what I love about your stuff the most, that you're able to put so much movement, so much life to the characters, so that they kind of live and breathe on the page.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Oh, one of my favorites.
That's for Mermaid that has been running around as the from the Bancroft brothers. They have been hosting a mermaid challenge, similar from what I want to do with the Looney Tunes, and that's one of the mermaids that I did. So. And there's Egan Spangler from the real Ghostbusters too. So
Great likenesses, just amazing likenesses. So
thank you.
very, very cool.
Oh, that's my character. That's Shanghai. That's my original character. I've been working on a comic book like forever, but time got life gets in the way, and then haven't been able to finish it, but I will. So,
He looks like he would fit in well with Darkwing Duck.
kind of, yeah. It's a funny story because I created this character back in the '90s when the Disney afternoon was almost there. It was starting, and the first thing that came up to me, I'm gonna make this bird with with Roger Rabbit features, but I'm just gonna put a beak. But at the same time, Tat Stones was creating Darkwing Duck. So I remember one day we were chatting about this online because I showed him my Shanghai comics, and he was like, "I didn't copy you. I didn't know you were you existed, and don't worry, I didn't know you were doing that either." So it's funny because Darwin Duck came on television, and I was at the same time my comic was in Puerto Rico making rounds, and then people said, "Hey, that looks like Darwin," and I was like, "Well, okay." What can I do here?
There's nothing wrong, and this could, like something like this, you'd think would possibly get added to like the Darkwing Duck universe, like a character like this.
Yeah,
So I think it's fantastic.
thank you.
All they need to do is back up a truck with money for Dave, and
Yeah, exactly.
That will be good. It's more the Goofy 30th anniversary art. Yeah,
Yeah, even just standing there, there's so much life, and like just I love the bounce and the squish and I just absolutely love it.
Yeah, thank you. Oh,
Ah,
that's the original Ghostbuster. Yeah,
yes,
Bill
the
mentioned
original
Ghostbuster.
Ghostbusters.
I made my take on them. In my constant self promotion for the Ghostbuster things, I said, "Oh, I'm gonna make my own version of the original Ghostbuster." So that's what I came out with. So
I remember when this show came on TV, and everybody was like, that's not the Ghostbusters. What are you talking? Like, they had no idea that original old TV show existed. So
yeah, the live action version was the original one.
yeah,
It's,
yeah,
yeah, nobody knew that, and that was actually the first thing. They just used the name, which is a long story, but the eventually the Columbia Pictures ended up with the rights to use the Ghostbuster thing too. Now that's Ray Stans.
Ray Stans, yes.
That's Ray Stans. Another mermaid.
I love like the Little Mermaid's one of my favorites, so I love mermaids. Also a big fan of Chris Saunders, so he does a lot of mermaids.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah,
Yeah,
Chris is wonderful. Oh, Roger Rabbit. And that, which one? Oh, that was for an Easter poster that I did a couple years ago. And that's Yanni, the one that I was talking about a little bit ago. That's my first character who ended up in the comic strip. So she's still around. So let's see what
very,
happens.
very cool.
There's another Ghostbuster thing that's Winston Sedmore, but that's kind of the old Busters, which is the newest version of them, which they aged. So,
Is there talks of doing a new like cartoon with them as older characters?
I have no idea because
Okay.
I know that they're gonna use they're gonna make a new animated version of the Ghostbusters, but I'm not sure if they're gonna use the young ones or the old ones. So I
Okay.
have no idea.
Still really cool stuff.
Thank you.
Oh, you
I don't know who's that guy.
hard at work, a young buck.
Yeah, young buck. Oh, we are no beard. That's Winston Sedimore again.
And
Here we
that's
are.
it.
And that's it.
So that is a really nice grouping of art. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, thank you so much.
Before I forget, let's see if I can share this. For folks interested in your own stuff, you have a website where
Oh yeah,
books for sale.
Mm-hmm.
So give everybody the details and what you have up there, and so folks can come and order.
Yeah, that's my website. That's dascomics.com. www.dascomics.com. My artwork is there, my portfolio is there, and I have original books for sale. My art book, and Kota Kotora, which is another character of mine that has been making rounds online in comic strips and stuff. And this is kind of a compilation of everything. You can find also, I think there's there, you can find this other book, which is Legend of the Gigantes.
Oh, fantastic.
Most recent story of mine with Puerto Rican culture and folklore. So hope you like it. It's on my webpage too, so
Sweet.
you can find it.
So what do you have on the drawing board now? What's upcoming next for you?
Well, it's a random board right now, but I have a couple of things that are under an NDA, but
Oh, darn NDAs.
I hate
darn
that.
NDAs. Yeah, I can't say much about them yet until they go out. But I've been working on personal stuff, which is basically the Shanghai comic and Moriani, so people can see it. But yeah, once I'm able to, talk about that NDA, I will do.
All right, all right. And if the project that you and I were mentioning before this thing got started is happening, we may have you back on here in a few weeks.
Oh yeah, that's good.
That so fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed and everything.
So, oh, go ahead, Dave.
Oh, goodness.
All right. So I have a few like fan questions.
Oh.
So I'm really curious how I know you were doing storyboards,
Mhm.
but how exactly did you get into doing the actual animation?
Well, I don't do the animation per se, but I make storyboards for them. So the storyboard is kind of the base for everything. And as things evolve in animation, basically what storyboard artists have to do right now are animatics, what they call animatics, which is basically the whole show in a pseudo animated way. There are a couple of those in my webpage. I have one of Donald Duck and another one of Snoopy, I think. So, but yeah, it's that's like so. I don't do the animation per se, but I work on the storyboard. part.
Okay, because I saw the animation on your Facebook page. So,
There are a couple,
and I
yeah.
was
Oh,
like,
which one?
um, I think I saw the Mickey Mouse. There was a Mickey Mouse one, right?
Mickey Mouse. I think it's a Donald Duck one.
Is it Donald Duck on your Facebook page? Yeah, I know I saw a couple of them. So,
Yeah, there are those are what we call animatics. So the animatics are
so it was just a natural like nobody actually showed you how to through the animated process.
well. On that part, I've been kind of self-taught. I grew up in a, my family wasn't very wealthy, so I couldn't assist to this fancy schools. I do have a bachelor degree in arts and television and cinema, but I couldn't handle animation or anything like that just on my own. And so I started self-teaching myself into this kind of stuff. So
Oh,
Okay.
Mhm.
Let me see if I can share this. This is from our ghsanimation.com website.
Mm. Yeah.
Here, we can see if we can get this to play.
Well, you called the right mystery solvers, Mr. Monday. As a regular customer myself, I would never want to see Dirtball Goldman's close its beautiful doors.
I don't get it. Are these clothes or art or what? I don't know. Both? Clothes art. Clark. We're Clardy. Come on, gang. Let's go have a look. Oh, where is everyone? Fred? Velma? Daphne?
Hey, look, there's a note taped to Mr. Carswell's head.
I'll bring her a spray, a bouquet.
Oh, my pen!
What? Where? Who said that? I would never hurt you. I'm afraid of my mind.
Allow me to introduce myself. I am Mama.
You mean you live?
Well, everything to see about me, but in a village. Where do you live?
I live in the Emerald City.
Emerald City? No, I have always seen the sea.
There's only the city's no place for us. It's so crowded. What if somebody stopped me?
Strange, even for you.
No, Spooky, it's just my allergies acting up. Achoo, sneeze. Huh? Oh, Marie,
These are just
I
great.
lost you.
Hugo, you really do care for me.
Look at the two lovebirds.
I don't see how I think. I'm in a house.
Just an expression.
Oh, you say don't forget to wash the sock monkeys.
That's an expression.
It is in my family.
Oh, what do you want? If you have a hair on her head, we'll care. We're here to have one of Dorothy's pals. A perfect pigeon.
Right. I'm not joking. That's Hawaiian.
Anyway, that gives everybody an idea of what good storyboards can look like.
Yep, that just made me smile ear to ear. So I love Scooby Doo, huge fan. So
Thank you.
that's fantastic.
I'm happy that you like it. I miss that show actually. Working on Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz was a very, very rewarding experience. The crew was so wonderful. The directors were so great, and they gave you so much freedom, for stuff. And I love that. I love working on the show. It's a shame that it was canceled.
So in any case, I think we've taken up enough of your time. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. Chris, any other questions for Dave before he gets back to real work?
No, I just thank you for coming on. I greatly appreciate you coming onto our show and chatting with us. It's been amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for inviting me.
All right.
All right. You have a great rest of your afternoon, Dave.
You too.
Thank
you.
And I'd just like to thank Dave Alvarez for coming on and chatting with us earlier. That was a fantastic interview and very informative.
Yes,
And
thank
now,
you.
and now we have some great portfolio reviews.
Well, we hope they'll be great. I think I'm starting to get the hang of this. I've only been doing this for decades. All right, so figured I'm going to do a few that are new, a couple of older ones. Just I'm trying to each one of these sessions give a variety of things that artists can see what other artists have done, because this is always a way to learn from what other people have done, good and bad. So sometimes you learn what they did well. It's like, oh, gee, I need to do something like that. Or it could well be, oh man, I need to learn from their mistakes. And either of those waves of learning are equally valid, I think. Let's start. I'm trying not to give names, but we can just try a few things here. Oh, here's one that I got a little while back. This is a 3-page sequence that was supposed to be for the Incredible Hulk. And this penciler gives us a decent enough establishing shot. But then I get confused. Have a character that I think is supposed to be Bruce Banner, but looks nothing like any version of Bruce Banner I've seen. But all right, for purposes of the sample, that's valid. So they're inside a fast food place with apparently really, really thick back supports between the different stalls there. You notice hers is really thick in panel 1, and his is really thin in the same panel. Like he's right against the wall. That one has
Right.
no padding there. So we get into panel 2, and these 3 goons with weapons come crashing through. Where are they crashing through from? You know, judging from the Banner character turning to look over his right shoulder, they must be coming in through the door. But if they're coming in through the door, why do they need to crash? It's an open place. They can just walk through the door. There was no like plate glass window anywhere established for them to shatter through. So I don't understand panel 2.
Yeah,
So,
not to mention that's a really weak door.
yeah. And there didn't seem to be that much glass to the door. So cardboard, paper mache. I don't understand panel 2 at all. So panel 3, if somebody or multiple somebodies with weapons are crashing through, the reaction from Banner in panel 3 is not very significant. It's like, huh? That could have been somebody just yelling his name in panel 3, for that matter. It doesn't seem to measure up to the level of threat that's there. So the guy with the weapon comes up apparently behind the woman that's seated there, but he just came in facing her. So what? I don't understand the staging. Did he go around her to be behind her? Is he more menacing that way? And then you get to panel 4. What happened to the really, really thick support between there? Notice how the guy is standing there, and the support back to her chair is much thinner now.
Yes.
How did that happen?
And he's got a huge freaking hand.
Yeah. But you know, he can be a huge guy. He can have a huge hand. That I don't mind as much. But a lot of things on that page rather confused me. I get to the next page, and okay, there's a build up here, and he's shot. Oh, I kind of lost something there, because he went for the anime speed lines rather than any actual information. It's like for all intents and purposes, the girl and the rest of the booth have disappeared. The rest of the building is disappeared for the entire rest of the page. I don't understand when we get down to the big panel across the bottom what's happening here. Is the girl on the ground now? Did they somehow destroy the booth? I don't understand the spatial relationships. Look at the guy in the bottom big panel on Banner's over his left shoulder. He's so tiny. He's like way in the back there. Why did he go way back there?
He's ordering some fries.
Yeah, then we have that close-up panel. All right, let's see what that leads to. And we have one of these. Okay, great. But between the one or two panels that kind of establish things back in page one and here, I've kind of lost all sense of place. Did they destroy so much on page two's middle panel that they're now outside? I don't have enough visual information to know. So in terms of visual storytelling, I don't think the artist has really done his or her job well enough. And in terms of just drawing style or amount of ability there, I don't think that the level of drawing is quite good enough. And certainly the level of consistency panel to panel is not strong enough to get him work. So I would say to this person, he or she needs to go literally back to the drawing board, try this over again and get better with the information being related in each and every panel as we go through. So we're clear where those guys are smashing through, if indeed they need to smash through somewhere. Just how big is this guy? What happens when he fires this thing? It's just so many details are missing. So the storytelling leaves more questions than it does provide answers.
So what if they come back and say, but David, I've seen plenty of comic books that with panels with no background.
And I would say, I'm not sure why you're basing your work on the worst possible guys, or the guys who already have the job that you want, but may have been rushed, or whatever the situation might have been. It could have been something as simple as, I didn't put any backgrounds in the published book because it was being done plot first, and I thought the writer was going to put a crap load of dialogue in here. Yeah, you never know. But it's never a good idea to say, hey, I'm better than the worst guy. I'm sorry, everybody the publisher has is better than their worst guy. They want people as good or better than their best guys.
Right.
Yeah, so got to be realistic in those things. And that worst guy that you just pointed out, he already has the job. So it's like there may be a dozen reasons why the guy has the job. Maybe he was in his prime some years ago, isn't anymore, but the guy, despite failing health, they want to keep him employed. And that may be the best he's capable of. It might be that particular issue isn't as good because the writer was very late, or the schedule somehow changed and he was having to deliver the book in a rush. You never know the reason something is the way it is unless you were there.
Right.
But don't look at the work that sucks and say, congratulations, I'm not as bad as, not quite as bad as their worst guy. Damned with faint praise. Yeah. So,
that's funny.
Food for thought. Oh, let's see. Let's do another one here. All right. This is a fellow. I'm including his name on here, and that is fine and dandy because this is a working professional. I really enjoy Haken's work, and I wanted to point out that this guy is getting steady work at Xenoscope and some other places, and I really enjoy what he's doing. But this is what he sent me back in 2019 when he was looking for work. And the size you're seeing it there was the size that I received it. There were 4 pages to each page of the PDF. Now, I show this partly because you really can't go in, if you're an editor, and see something where a file is meant to be looked at 8.5 by 11 or whatever, but you're providing the artwork the size of a trading card. You can't blow it up large enough to really study the line work or just get a good sense of the consistency of faces or stylistic details. There was enough here to say, hey, this guy's good. I can probably get him work now, but I could also give him some guidance so that he could tweak a few things that are in this existing portfolio, make it better, and then I could take it to the bigger companies and get him even better jobs. And I remember writing back to him and saying, hey, let's do this. I want to go over some things that you're doing with some faces, some storytelling things that I think you could improve on, and so on and so forth. And I didn't hear from him. It's like 6 years of nothing. Well, I've been paying attention to the guy from afar. I've been, he's a Facebook friend, so I've been following his stuff there and seeing what he's been doing in the various places. And I dropped him a line yesterday and said, you've gotten plenty of experience under your belt, but you're still doing work for this range of companies. You want to work for the bigger guys? Ready to talk to me some more? And so he's interested. Still not clear why he didn't follow up. It might have been something as simple as he sent his portfolio out and some of the smaller guys snatched him up right away. So, you can get into the habit of doing work that's paying X amount a page, which might be a quarter or a third or half of what you could be earning. And it becomes the easier, smaller money because, and so you kind of get used to it. So you may not naturally grow at the job if you're not getting a lot of editorial feedback, but it's good enough. And quite plainly, he was good enough to be getting work, and he is. I would just like to see a guy with this amount of sheer talent working for the big guys on big books and getting bigger money. So first step is to submit files that are large enough for me to review full size. And next step is to follow up if I'm wanting to work with you. Or if you're not going to follow up, say, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. I'm good with getting the small jobs over here. Either way is fine. At least I know you don't leave me hanging. But in this case, the guy was good enough that I've been paying attention from afar. Let's see. What else do we want to see here?
And that also provides value in making sure that your Facebook page, the stuff that you put up in your Facebook page and your portfolio is updated just in case someone is watching.
Yeah. But the other thing is the problem with finding somebody's work on social media is, if you're finding it on Facebook, for example, you can be scrolling through and then you go from the current stuff that's good. It's like, oh, geez, okay, it's not so good. And you've got the guy's earlier stuff. So a social media account like this isn't necessarily the best place to showcase your portfolio, nor is some of these ArtStation or Deviant Art type of things. not that the sites themselves are a problem. It's that an artist's tendency is not to update those sites. So they become a repository for everything that the artist has done, that he's cared to upload. And sometimes it's sketches or stuff that should have been corrected by editorial, or has an editor or an agent like me might have given advice on, and the uncorrected stuff is still up there.
Right.
And to the artist, it's, well, I did it. It should be up there, so I'm getting some value out of what I've done. My question is always, why do you want to publish online all your mistakes for the world to see?
Exactly.
So isn't it better to go through that stuff periodically, wean out the weakest or oldest stuff, keep up your best, your newest stuff, so that it is absolutely indicative of what you can do now? You don't want somebody pulling up a random thing you did 7 years ago, and it's like, ugh, okay, he's not quite ready, whoever that he or she might be. And somebody else going and finding another piece that's current and great, and it's like, okay, I'll give them more. I really wish more artists were understanding that their portfolios online need to be the best current stuff they're capable of. And editors that are hiring somebody to do sequential work really don't want to see your sketch cards. You can section them off if your sketch card work is something that you get a fair amount of. Okay, have it up there, but have it in a separate category.
Mm-hmm.
Have your sequentials here, have your covers here. You're doing commissions, okay, have those over here. Don't jumble them all together. And showcase your best sequential work, so when somebody comes in, they can see that right off. Because for most artists, 95% of what they're doing is sequentials. So, in theory, 95% or thereabouts of your portfolio ought to be most of what you're doing. So, just a bit of common sense as folks are going into it.
Even though the pinups and the covers are fun.
They're fun, but if you're not being hired to do the covers.
Right.
And if you've got covers up there, I would greatly prefer they not be pinups. I know so many artists, so many editors just let it happen. Oh, we'll call it an iconic shot. No, it's a generic pinup. Give me something that's a great sense of design, or something that tells a story. Man, I miss the days when editors were pushing for artists to do story-based covers to help sell what's inside. I don't know if I already said this on this podcast. Years ago, we were doing a series of Lady Death covers for Chaos. And they were all done by Yvonne Rice. And we ended up doing a whole series of these generic covers because they just wanted the pinups. And I attended a convention where I had a stack of them in my case that I wanted to go over with them. And I asked, why aren't you doing story-based covers? They said, well, I don't see the need for it. And I put down a series of issues that they had just published. We did the artwork on. I said, what's the story in this book? And the editor reached for it to open it. No. You're the editor. What's the story in this book? He couldn't tell me. I said, well, if you don't know, looking at the book that you hands-on edited, how does the reader know?
Right.
You just got generic covers. And I said, now notice the series of covers that I just put down. And it was hilarious because it was like Yvonne had drawn a shot of Lady Death holding a weapon up like this. Another shot, she's holding the weapon like this. Another shot, it was down like this. It wasn't published in that order, but I said, look, change the order. Look, it's a triptych. It's animated. But no, that wasn't the intention, but the covers were just so generic. And I said, story-based might help sales a little bit. That might be more intriguing than just another shot of a girl and her boobs. Uh, so just something for artists and editors to think about. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, here's one. This fellow, I think that's also, no, that's not that fellow. All right, so this fellow had sent me, let's go back to slide 1. This fellow had sent me some nice images, but there was no storytelling there at all. And he was responding to something that I had put on Facebook, where I was looking for an artist in a particular style. Well, his style was nothing like what I said I was looking for, but I guess he thought it fell under the category of it never hurts to ask. So he went ahead and sent his stuff, and I said, okay, it's a decent enough first panel with the buildings. Okay, he can trace a Volkswagen. Great. Okay, he's trying an upshot here. Nothing wrong with that. I didn't think the drawing was as strong as it could be. It falls under this category of what we were saying in other podcasts, where the storytelling always seems to be bland in today's comics. Like they've never looked at the more visually interesting comics that some of the top guys, Eisner and Kirby and Buscema and all these others could do, what even if it's characters standing around talking, could make them visually interesting. So this is all just kind of rudimentary storytelling here.
And he's better. He's much better with architecture than he seems to be with figure work.
Yeah, and this girl turned into a giant in panel 1. It's like this page. I don't quite know what's happening there, but she's not a giant when she gets into panels 2 and 3. So I saw a lot of problems with this, with just how much text he was putting in each of these, because he was doing his own lettering, his own everything. So my view, he has complete control of this. So it could be better. And if he's showing me this with the lettering, then I need to consider the entire package, because he's showing me the entire package. If he doesn't want me to review the lettering, perhaps the lettering shouldn't be on the sample he's sending. So I review what's there. I don't review what's not there. So the lettering was really beginner level stuff. It had all the stuff you expect from semi-professional lettering, where the capital letter I is only supposed to have the crossbars if it's used as the proper noun, I. If it's in a word like it should just be the straight stroke, not the crossbars. But he does that mistake along with what most beginners do when they're doing this stuff. Placement is kind of odd. He had complete control of this page, and this girl's fingers are talking. It's just odd placement. Balloons are just these very odd shapes, and the tails are not good, and things aren't the level that they should be. This crossing of balloons is probably not the best way to do this. He could have had the word balloons across in the bottom panel, could have the word balloons going across the top, and then she speaks, and then her reply is down low. There was no reason to bisect the panel with all that text. A lot of the stuff is just kind of okay. Everybody is just very low key here. Big balloons, words within the balloons that aren't correctly placed within the balloon shapes, just all kinds of things that didn't really work as well as it should. Got some talent. Don't know if they're going to master comic storytelling and drawing. I saw them as quite a ways away. If they're doing their own thing, they could Kickstarter something, or even go to a bigger publisher who likes personal stories and more intimate, less commercial styles, and there may be a market for that.
Right.
But that's not something that was right for what this guy was submitting the sample for.
And this is another reason why, if you're submitting to David or a publisher, you need to read the submission rules, because it is very explicitly stated on the Glasshouse site. When you send something in, if you're focusing on colors, make sure it's stated that those are the colors. Don't add lettering. Don't ink your own line art if you're not going to be an inker, because that's going to affect his perception of what's underneath.
Yeah.
And it's very explicitly stated on there to not include. Yeah.
I've gotten samples where I've gotten something and there's like 11 pages and I'm seeing 3 different styles, not artists on my roster. I may not necessarily recognize who the artist is. And I'm seeing them. It's like 2 of these styles are really good. The color's not so hot, but and I'll write back. Thanks for sending. I really like these 2 styles out of the 3 styles you're showing me. The coloring is not your strong suit, but I'd be interested in seeing more art in these 2 styles. And they'll write back, oh no, I was just submitting the coloring. Okay. You didn't even send it as a PDF with your name on it. Your samples were labeled Art 1 JPEG, Art 2 JPEG, Art 3 JPEG. So why was I to not assume this was your art? So, if an artist or colorist or letterer or whatever has that much trouble communicating even the most basic things, you wonder how they're going to be in the clutch of trying to get work done on deadline. Are they going to communicate well? Are they going to do everything that you expect them or need them to do?
And the emphasis on proper labeling of your files is also on the Glasshouse site.
Oh, yeah.
For people to read. So.
Oh yeah. All right. Let's see. What else do I have? Oh yes. I get a lot of samples at about this level of work. Here, okay, I don't know what the person's age is. They're trying. You look at panel 3, it's like, all right, you've got all that black and the guy's wetsuit is black. And okay, I hope it would work, but the actual drawing skill isn't there, at least not yet. I can't tell if this guy is 12 years old or 40 years old. I've gotten some from kids like this, and then they'll follow up, and every couple of years I'll see something and they get better. And I've been around so long, I've eventually hired the person because I've watched their growth across, a dozen years or what it's been. Of course, this could be somebody who's 40 and is not master drawing and, just hoped it would somehow magically come to them. You never know. It's more of the same. A lot of this is just going to be inkjet black, but there's no strong drawing under a lot of this. A lot of this is rendered out kind of gray, so it wouldn't be really easy to ink. No, something like this, in the past, I might have gone and given the guy a long email in response saying, here are books that you need to look at for just better drawing of people. Here's what you need to look at for drawing backgrounds. Here are artists that you should look at for storytelling. Sometimes I would spend 30, 40 minutes doing a response. And then I realized there were some days I was spending 8 or 9 hours a day reviewing portfolios. And that was before I got to my day's work. And there reached a point across the years where I just couldn't do it anymore. So anything that's coming in at this level these days, I'm just responding back with, thanks for showing me, but this isn't at the level of work that we can sell to our clients. And,
that's perfectly fair.
Yeah, but it's when they come back thinking they deserve more of a response than they've already gotten. Well, I need to know, what can I do better? You can't be yelling at your computer screen, everything, you need to draw everything better. You don't want to insult them. You don't want to be telling somebody, I've seen better art at the bottom of a bird cage, or whatever the insult would end up being, because you really do hope that every portfolio you open is going to be absolutely amazing and wonderful. And you hope you can find enough jobs to give all these amazing and wonderful artists careers. But, there are reasons some people just don't get the job. So, you hope everybody's going to listen to what you have to say. And if it's okay, if it isn't at a level that they can sell to their clients, well, then I need to deliver at a better level. And you hope it'll be enough to inspire them to, improve their drawing, take drawing lessons, whatever it is necessary to get to the level they want to be. And can they get there? Who the heck knows?
Now, if they politely ask, Mr. Campiti, would you please, look at my stuff and let me know where I can improve? I'm sure you would be happy to do that, right?
There are sometimes, because I've been doing this for so long, there have been times when I've gotten stuff that's, let's call it borderline. That this guy, if you can help him move the needle, could potentially get there. Then the inclination is to want to give them some more help to try to get there. But again, my time has become more and more and more limited. So what I found I've done a number of times is, because I've written so many responses to people, I can go in and look at other responses I've done where I've sent them links to things that they should look at. And if it's kind of the same thing, then I can copy and paste. And it's like, okay, take a look at these. I think that these will help you to improve. Best of luck. Feel free to show me stuff a year or two down the road when you've gotten better. And you hope that's the case. Unfortunately, as we were talking about earlier, some people just disappear on you.
Mm-hmm.
Other times you'll get people that will show you stuff and they don't really want to listen to what you're saying, or don't really learn from what's there, or have selective hearing. I did a convention, a Detroit convention, for many years. And there was a fellow, very pleasant fellow, that I would see at every Motor City Comic Con that I did. And at the time, the conventions were twice a year. I don't know what they are now. And every convention I'd see this guy, and he'd bring up the samples that he'd done, show me, and I'd look at 3 or 4 or 5 new pages and say, okay, this isn't bad. You need to improve this, you need to improve that. And I'd see this more of the same 6 months later, and 6 months after that, and 6 months after that. And there was one show where I had plenty of time. I gave him an extraordinary amount of time going through stuff. Then it got to the point where I got one batch that I thought was marginally better. And I said, you're probably a 6 months to a year away from ready. I've been seeing a lot of the same level from you from years. For years, you really need to apply yourself. But if you go over this and this and this and this, just work at it in 6 months to a year, you could be ready. Well, I missed the next Motor City. So it was a year before I got there. And he was so excited to see me. He brought up the portfolio. It's like, okay, here we go. And he's waiting to hear those magic words, "you're hired." And I open the portfolio, and there's no improvement. None. There are new pages, but it's the same level of work that I had seen previously. And my head went down like this. My shoulders drooped. I said, "What's wrong?" I said, "It's not any better." But you said in 6 months to a year I'd be ready. How many pages have you drawn in the past year? Well, we moved. I got married. We went on our honeymoon. I changed jobs. Last week, I saw that you were coming into this show. So I got a script off your website and did these samples to show you. So you're telling me that in a year, you did 5 pages? Well, yeah. So you gave yourself no time to work through those many things we talked about with storytelling and faces and backgrounds that you needed to improve on. I didn't mean magically by the clock you would get better as hours and days and weeks passed. I meant if you put your mind to it and worked on all those things, drawing a page or 2 pages a day for a year, you'd be 300, 400, 500 pages down the road and have worked through all your problems and gotten better, and you'd be ready. You didn't do that. So you've just lost the past year. Oh, okay. And he zipped up his portfolio, and I never saw him again. He wasn't willing. Yeah, he wasn't willing to put the time in. He had something of a passion for it, but he wanted it to come easy. And it's not a matter of the time; it's the amount of time you put in during that time.
Yeah, what do they say? The 10,000 hours that you need to master a task, and it's true.
Yeah, I get it, but it's disheartening to see that happen so much. But at least the guy was willing to put some effort into it, not enough. It's better than the guy that came up to me at a con, dragging his girlfriend along. It's like he plops open his portfolio and he says, "I kick ass." The stuff was barely one level up from stick figures. And I started to say, no, what you need to do is, and I got barely 12 seconds into my discussion of what he should do. "You're not what I need." And he grabbed the portfolio and just sort of stomped away. And I thought, I might have been exactly what he needed. Who knows?
A lot of artists just want to hear that they're great. They don't want to hear criticism or correction. So it's just the way it goes. Did
I tell you my story of the artist who thought he was in big at DC and never was?
I don't think you've told me on this podcast. So.
Oh, okay. Then let's do that. Had another guy that I saw occasionally at conventions. He comes up to one show and he's showing me stuff. And a couple of times I'd seen him previously. He was kind of non-committal about the advice I was giving. And he was showing me some new stuff. And he said, well, you're wrong. It's like, okay. What am I wrong about specifically, since I deal with probably every editor that's here at the con? And he said, well, so-and-so editor at DC Comics says that I'm ready. Oh, what jobs did he give you and get you paid for? Well, nothing yet, but he said my stuff was great and he'd keep me in mind. Well, congratulations, you just got the DC Comics brush off. But he got angry at me, and I said, no, that's what they tell people if they don't want to get into a confrontation, and so he left, obviously very unhappy to talk to me. And it was either that night or the next night I ran into the editor he was talking about at the bar. And I said, so what can you tell me about? And I mentioned the kid's name. He said, who? And I showed him the kid's business card that he had left with me. He said, oh, him. Yeah. He comes to every convention. He doesn't listen to a damn thing we say. And I told him that, okay, your stuff's fine. I'll keep you in mind. And because, he's at that level, he's not going to get work. But I don't want him to stop buying my comics. And I don't want him bad-mouthing me. So I'm not going to say anything negative to him because I could tell he had an attitude. It's like, well, he's going around saying that you love his work and you're going to give him an assignment any day now. And he said, well, tell me how that works out. So those kinds of things happen. And it is a small industry. And we're going to talk to people. I talk to editors. They tell me problems they've had with artists. I know sometimes what artists they're talking about. There's just a lot of information that we share. And, the good guys, the dependable guys, they get work and they get the good word of mouth.
Now, I've heard stories that Neil Adams had no problem telling potential artists and people showing him their portfolios what was what. Like, he had no problem.
And I get that. And I got to see that very early on when I went to continuity with Mike Deodato, and we were showing Neil and Chris Adams all the artists' works. And he was very vocal about what worked, what didn't work, and why, because he knew what the hell he was talking about. And you're going to get feedback from Neil that nobody else was going to give you. And it wasn't a writer who's an editor giving you feedback. He'd give it to you as an artist who understood exactly what he was doing, how to do it. And he was the kind of guy that up to a certain point in his career was very willing to help the artists that were willing to listen and learn. So the man had a lot to teach. I wish he had written books about how to draw.
Exactly. My friend Travis brought him some samples. He brought him some penciled samples, and he brought him some ink samples. Neil took a look at his penciled samples and says, this stuff, this is really nice. This is really good. Took a look at his ink samples and said, did you ink this? Travis said, yeah, I inked it. He says, stop doing that. Don't do that anymore. That sucks.
In truth, when I got started in the business, and probably at least the first half of my career, I didn't pull punches. So I was honest with people, and every time people referred to me, they solder the word brutal on there. Oh, he's brutally honest. Okay, every time I'm honest, I'm brutal. Okay, so over the course of time, I tried to get nicer about it, because it seems like in this era of social media, where people are more and more unsocial, folks. Artists in particular have become more and more sensitive to reality. And it's like they don't know what to do when they've gotten straightforward feedback. It's like they can't process it because people have said such nice things about them. And here's somebody who's being mean. You don't even know me. You're right. I'm reviewing lines on pieces of paper, or now it'd be lines on an iPad. But it's something where some of us editors, some of us agents and writers really want to help. We want to see this industry grow and prosper and not lose what was created in the first 80 years of this business, all that lost and forgotten information that people aren't learning. And so I try to impart what I'm doing, which is one of the reasons I followed your advice and we started this podcast. Spread the info to as many folks as we possibly can.
Yeah, and it's growing and growing every day. I think it's becoming quite a hit. So
that will be nice to see and hear. Let me go through one more portfolio, and then I think we can wrap for the day. All right, we had in a previous podcast, we were talking about these test pages for a project called Hot Wings. By the way, there's some not for kids artwork coming up, so we want to flag folks for that. There you go. So this was work that was colored by a colorist I've used a bunch of times before. But just because you've used a guy on project A doesn't necessarily mean he's going to fit absolutely right on project X. Or the artist might have done a great job on one project and not so great a job on another project, and sometimes you never learn why. So I had him do 3 pages of samples, and we might have even shown the color samples in a previous podcast.
We did.
So I went back to him with my notes and said, I need a bunch of things changed. On this page, for example, I pointed out that the blue alien angel, the white wings don't quite look like it fits to the angel, and she also looks more aqua than blue. And I pointed out that there's all these trucks down there at night, including a motorcycle that has a spotlight on it specifically to be able to see her at night. And why aren't any of the lights on? Why are they operating in the dark when they're trying to spot her? So we went through a couple of revisions. I gave him notes, and it came back with this, which I thought worked significantly better. The wings work with the blue angel. Now there's everybody has their lights on because it's nighttime. And I thought the differences between the two things were pretty significant. Now it seems like a night scene that's been lit. She's the right coloring. I think it has the effect we were going for. We had another page where we had this for this female demon character that's supposed to be coming out of the earth, and you'll see, if you look closely, you can see there's a couple of tiny demons with her, and it's supposed to be all this lava effect. And it seemed to me less lava than orange slushy. And I understood the choice of giving her dark bat wings, but I thought it might be better if she had wings in a similar coloration to the rest of her, and they be more translucent, like actual animal and insect wings might be. And so it took a couple of tries, but he came up with this. And when you look at them side by side, I think there's a world of difference there. The lava actually seems hot now.
Yes, it does.
And the wings now look like they are a part of her, not just bat wings that have been attached. So giving it that, not necessarily a translucency, but it's picking up the color from the lava, and you can see some of the veins and so forth. And he's also added all these splatter effects across the bottom so that it's, the lava is spewing. And I thought overall it worked better. And it's like, okay, this I can use. And then another page that he did with his character, and I had pointed out that the car she's stepping from, because it's night, again, should have its night lights on, and I didn't see it there. So he went through a couple of tries and then gave me this, and I thought this worked out much better. I like the comparison here, but I thought, all right, you missed something. You made her skin color too light. So I had him correct that, and then we were down to this. So it took 3 tries, but this colorist, who's a professional colorist I work with, finally got it to where I needed it for the book. So if he's watching, he's hearing it now, he's being hired for the project. So he was willing to listen, he was willing to make the adjustments. And I'm sure his portfolio, when he puts it up, will show the final versions rather than the rejected versions.
Hopefully.
So it made the difference to listen. And yes, it was quite a bit of work to get him to where I needed these samples to be. But I thought it was worth the extra effort. And now, if all goes well, then I shouldn't have to go through 2 rounds of corrections on every page, because now he should understand what I'm looking for. So there we go. So somebody who followed the process, and okay, now you're hired. So,
and when an artist turns in the page, you're as an editor, you're hoping that they nail it at least 85 to 100% when they turn it in the first time.
No, I get colorists on some books. I'll deal with wonderful colorists like Candace Hahn, who colored Will Conrad's wonderful work on that Warrior One book we talked about when Will was on. And she's a top colorist being paid a top rate and is worth every penny. And it's like, the book was 80 pages. I'd be surprised if there were 6 corrections in the 80 pages.
That's impressive.
She just nailed everything the first time. Now, as the guy putting the package together, not only center the artwork, center whatever notes Will had, what he would like to see with the color, whatever notes the client had. I had some references that I sent along, and some of the references were, don't do this. And because it's literally a case where we had another colorist start the book, and the color wasn't as good as it could be. There was nothing wrong with it. It was solid, middle of the road DC or marble coloring, but we wanted a higher level. So after a couple of tries, and we couldn't get that colorist to get us the higher level, I was like, well, we're going to one of the best of the business here. And so we got Candace, and fortunately her schedule allowed her to do the book. So sometimes you get people that are just phenomenal from the get-go, and there's very little to change.
Well, fantastic.
Oh yeah. And when you're able to work with professionals at that kind of level, then it makes your heart sing, because it's like, yes, this is right. And sometimes they'll surprise you of it being even better than you imagined.
Give you a little bit more than you expected.
Next week, I will show some more cover coloring from CC De La Cruz, and she always delivers even better than you expect. So,
CC is amazing. Yes, she is.
So I'll be happy to show that. I think that's all we have for this week, unless you've got questions for me.
I think that is all for this week. Yes. I got some questions, but I'm going to reserve them for next episode. So
okay, we can do that.
All right. Thank you for joining us, everyone. I appreciate everyone coming and commenting and liking and subscribing and sharing. It's doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but it really helps us out. So I appreciate everybody doing that. And stay tuned for next episode. Do we know what we're having on for next episode?
Oh, let's see. I'm not sure. I believe it's Cliff Richards.
Cliff Richards. All right. So stay tuned next episode for Cliff Richards.
All right. Thank you all.
Yep. Thanks for coming. Bye. Back to the streets.